The Facebook blackout. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about copying others. Let's talk about lying. Let's talk about all of that. All right, let's get it.
Yeah. I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Guys, Facebook shut down for 7 hours, okay? As well as WhatsApp and Instagram and a couple of other things. So it's so interesting to notice this because there's one front runner, which is Mark Zuckerberg, but there's always things happening in the background of these things, right? They're the people working behind the scenes cause these effects to happen because apparently someone deleted chunks of coding from the DNS. And of course, these are kind of nerdy terms where we as a general population are trying to understand. Someone that doesn't know coding, someone that doesn't understand what's going on, we might just be confused about the reality of the situation and what's really happening, okay? Also, we've got to understand the importance of Google. Google is like the head of the matrix. And it goes into this three-headed beast, which was cut off. All the heads were cut off for a second, but then, as we know, it always grows back, these heads, sometimes with even more heads. So what I'm predicting is, as we cut these heads off the beast, there are going to be other social medias that take over. There is clearly something happening that we don't know. There's some propaganda, there's some secrecy, there's some hush-hush, there's some whistleblowing, Facebook employees being locked out, their key card's not working, their ID card's not working, right? All the stuff that we're hearing about what went down, what happened, whether it was because of this whistleblower, they wanted to cover something up, whatever it is, right? So we all want to preserve our image, right? We all want to be accepted, liked, belong, and understand that whenever we're trying to cover something up or whenever we're trying to lie, it immensely has to do with our control. It has to do with control, okay? So first of all, start to understand that. Second of all, this is the age of Aquarius, which is all about humanitarian change, right? And things happening from that perspective. So, you know, Facebook kind of stopping for a little bit, or social media stopping for a little bit. Everyone either kind of went on to Twitter and started speaking about this, or they went on to Telegram to speak about these things with others, to connect, to reach a consensus, to meet of the minds and connect with others, because we need that connection. But notice that social media stopped becoming social media. It's just become media. People just posting stuff to get validation. People just trying to copy others. People, looking at these other people and be like, why is my life not like that? Okay, and I know hundreds of clients who've come to me and mentioned this aspect of this comparison trap that they get of looking at someone on social media and you're going, man, they're doing all these amazing things, right? Hey, they're getting married, they're, traveling the world, they're graduating college, right? They're showing the highlight reels of what's awesome about their life, but no one's going on a camera and being like, hey, divorced my husband, or hey, I'm going through something really rough right now. And even if people are doing that, the authentic, transparent people online, they're not getting that much traction. They're not getting as much traction as the people who are just posting like, hey, look at me, I'm in this villa somewhere, but I'm actually not, and I'm pretending that I'm in this villa somewhere. But hey, look at my body, look at what I've got, look at my material wealth, look at all of these things that make me cool, instead of actually recognizing that coolness is a factor of your character and something that you generate within, right? It's not from, of course, the image is important, but what's more important is the self-image, not the image that you portray. You see what I'm saying? So of course, the image you portray is important for your branding and all of these different things, but what's more important is the self-image, the image where you look into the mirror and you create that deep spiritual connection with yourself. And the selflessness is a big part of flow state as well. So getting rid of this identity of the self. I had to get rid of my long hair because I was so attached to it. I was like, man, I wanted to be seen as a spiritual man, and a spiritual man, he has long hair and all these different things. I had all the justifications behind, why I was holding on to that hair. But what I started to realize is, hey, this hair is also pretty badass. And in fact, one of my clients told me that it's actually very spiritual to have this hair because you're not caring about other people's opinions. You're not caring about, what other people think of you. You're going and doing what you want to do. And I think that is one of the most spiritual things you can do, is be purely authentic and just move forward in that. And I am very lucky. I am very privileged to be able to do this, because there's a lot of people in different jobs in different sectors of society where they'll be like no, change your hairstyle, you know, we have a dress code, you have to do this, you have to do it this way, you have to understand how to live like this, and a lot of the reality is imposed on us, which doesn't give us that freedom to do what we want when we want. And this whole financial freedom movement came from this internal voice, this guide from ourselves saying that, hey, no, I want to be free, I want to be liberated, I want to do what I want. I don't want other people to impose this reality on me, because I've seen in the past, if I'm trying to appease someone, or hey, my parents want me to do this job, or hey, I was forced into this position where I'm doing a work that I don't really like doing, I'm going to feel shame, I'm going to feel guilt, I'm going to resent people, I'm going to resent myself, I'm going to start blaming myself. And there's a whole heap of issues that come up from that. You see, the yogic practice, or satya, means truthfulness, right? And that truthfulness and committing to the truth is something that's really important, because our behavior starts to change when we start telling the truth. Now, after you've been lying for many years, and I know I've gotten into this pattern of lying in my past, of just to impress people, you know, and saying things and things like that. I wasn't pathological. There was no antisocial behavior in me that much, but it's just, we white lie sometimes, you know, to make ourselves feel better or to control the situation. And that's what I got to understand is, hey, this lying thing, it's all about control. And when you recognize the power of surrendering control in your life, you start to tap into the flow state. So when you recognize that, when you reach that pinnacle point, you'll understand that, hey, as you start telling the truth, there will be a backlash. There will be a moment of those lies having those consequences in those moments. And that's what is coming up. It's not because you told the truth that you're getting all these different things happen. It's because you've been harboring this lie inside of you. And hey, it's got to come out in some way, and the universe has to give consequences back, karma back in a certain sense. After that struggle phase period of you telling the truth after lying for a while, you're going to get this feeling of like, oh man, this is tough. I can't deal with this right now. And I'm not saying to be completely transparent online and share everything. Nobody needs to know everything about your life. Obviously, we understand the power of privacy. But again, social media does not respect our privacy. Obviously, they're taking information, they're selling like information to the dark web of all these social medias and things like this. So it's really important that you understand that, privacy is something sacred, and nobody knows what's going on in here, guys. Right? Nobody knows what actually is happening in your own mind. They only know what you say to them and how you portray yourself, and you're the representation of this illusion of this holographic self that we're showing the world. It's like a video game. The way I think of it is like a video game, right? Like let's say you're playing one of those free roaming games, or like The Sims, or like GTA, or any of these games, Resident Evil. You're going around, right? You have a character there, and that character is you right now in the physical body. That is your character. It's how you're representing yourself. But then you also have got to recognize that who's the player, who's the one behind the joystick, and that is the observer. That is your core. That is the unchanging self. It doesn't change. Your ego changes all the time. Your identity is fluid. Right? So one day you might be like, hey, I feel like doing this. And the next day you be like, I feel like doing that. Your opinions change. Your clothing changes. Your lifestyle changes. Like my hair changed. You know what I mean? And change is the norm. Change is the way that the universe functions. It follows a waveform function, right? Because we have summer, and then we have winter, and then we have spring, and we have all these seasons. And the seasons also represent this change that's happening all the time. And so we got to understand that time when social media was taken away for those 7 hours or whatever, like I started to notice that, oh man, I need to get on Instagram, right? We all felt this internal urge to just go back on those things, right? Instead of taking time off to rest or even to work during that time, right? Getting something productive done. But a lot of us, we have this productivity procrastination, which is basically like we're doing stuff just for the sake of doing it, not really getting stuff done. We're not focusing on the end result. We're not, trying to make this character evolve. We're just kind of doing stuff just for the sake of being busy, and because that's the right thing to do, and that's how society wants us to be, is very productive members of society, right? Instead of actually being like, oh, let me take the brakes off for a second and let me look internally about what I'm seeking from these apps. And maybe your lifeblood is associated with these apps of Instagram, Facebook, and all of these things. But I predicted a year ago, if you see this video that I had, of this blackout going to happen, something similar to this, because that's when we start noticing that, hey, there are things wrong here. right? The whole COVID situation did that to us. A lot of people, when this happened, were talking about, oh, there's the cyber pandemic. That might have been a possibility. When this starts to happen, we start to distrust in the system and the different programs that we're a part of, like Facebook, Instagram, and all of these different things, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. I love these platforms, right? Because it's a way to share my work. It's a way to shape my message. It's a way to say, hey, I have a new video out right now, and to build a tribe and a community, which is very, very important. But stop using, this is a reminder, this blackout for me was a reminder to stop using these apps to just try to validate myself and copy others and compare myself and like scroll and like look at booty pics and like do this thing. Like, stop doing the usual stuff that you're doing and really start using these social medias as a social platform, which is a platform used to connect you with others. There's not enough conversations happening in the DMs. And even if they are conversations, it's sort of like, hey, hi, how are you doing? That surface level tackling of information and us not actually going within and sharing, there's not going to be healing happening. I remember a certain point where I started to text people and I just said my pure truth to them. Right? I recently just texted somebody and being like, hey, listen, I've hit you up like 7 times to do this thing that you asked me to do, be part of your meditation app. I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but I was just like, I'm tired of this. Like, I'm tired of reaching out to you and not getting a response. So, hey, either you don't want me to do it, but the offer is off the table unless you give me a sincere apology for wasting my time. Right? That's actually what I sent them. And whether they come back or not, it doesn't matter, because in my mind, I've cut off that emotional cord to that memory now, to that event now, and to that person now. You see what I'm saying? And now I'm free to do what I want. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, this person is, are they going to work with me? Are they, is this going to happen? You know, am I going to be a part of this major app that they're building? Right? Am I going to be validated by thousands of people around the world, you know, listening to my meditations? It's like, man, cut that off, because that is attachment. That is fear. Don't live from fear. One of my spirit guides told me this very recently, and I want you to hear this out very clearly. Life is love in action. Life is love in action. Some of you are listening like, oh yeah, man, that sounds like a really cool quote. I think I might put that on a t-shirt. You didn't get it. But for the people who heard that and they were like, I understand. Zoom, scripts, whatever you want to call me, I get you. We're forgetting how to socialize, guys. We're forgetting how to socialize. We're speaking with emojis. Emojis are reducing us back to the time of hieroglyphics and like cave paintings, you know? Whereas we could actually be using things like a voice message or a video call and all these different things, these different ways in which we can actually speak to each other. Like, this is what we do Genius Days, you know, getting on a video call and like speaking to someone, not just like from the back of like really sleepy. You just got off of a conversation with an employer and you were just kind of like, hey, camera off, you know, not interacting, not engaging, sitting in the background, waiting for other people to take action and ask questions. Like, I see these people in Brotherhood as well. You know, they're like, they haven't said a word and they've been there for months and months and months and months and years, perhaps even some people. They've just been watching from the sidelines. It's time for you to stop watching from the sidelines and do something, impact the world, because this is a reminder of our ascension right now. And shameless plug, check out my song Ascension on Spotify with Obvious. He's a very popular on TikTok. You know, Obvious is a spiritual rapper. Shout out to you, brother. He also has a YouTube channel, so I can link it below as well of this video. But yeah, man, it's so interesting to finally see that break from social media causes so many people to freak out. Because I was predicting something like this would happen, and I think a lot of people who are tapped in and are intuitive and maybe a little bit slightly conspiracy theorist minded people, right? They kind of spotted this and they were like, yeah, guessed it. Right? People are also kind of, you know, they're cautious. Not overcautious, remember, but just cautious. Just they know and they're prepared. They have enough food stored in their homes. They have an understanding of what's happening, right? And they're living from a very knowledgeable standpoint. They're using their knowledge as a weapon. because that's all we have. In the future, they're going to censor us a lot. Okay? In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they took this video off. However, this is the world that we're living in. We have to have these precautions, and we have to really understand, what is it that we're trying to build? What is it that we are building over time? So that's my video. This was my rant, okay? I got it out of my system now. Thank you so much for listening. Have an incredible day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. Let's get it today. Boom.